Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life.
And Professor Sunreis Productions!
Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. And in today's class, we're going to make better duelists out of you by teaching you both the concept of card advantage and tempo, so you can make more better and game-winning decisions in your games of Yu-Gi-Oh! But what do these concepts mean? We will find out in this video. But before we get into it, please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some feedback down the comment section below. And most importantly, I'm going to do a giveaway at 100 subs, so feel free to leave a sub and shower me with your support. And let's get right into the video. Before discussing why card advantage and tempo are so important, you of course need to fully understand them first. Card advantage describes the amount of cards available to you at any point in the game. This includes hand, field, graveyard, and banish pile, relative to your opponents of course. And if you're playing Pendulum, it even means on top of the Pendulum deck. It's so important because cards games are always decided by a game of chance, at least to some degree, and having more cards than your opponent usually means you're winning, but it doesn't guarantee a win on its own, and this is where tempo comes into play. There isn't really a real clean and completely cohesive definition for tempo in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but the easiest way to understand this is that it's the amount of pressure you can put on your opponent, be it in form of disruption, attack points, or the amount of plays left at your disposal to continue your combo. You see why tempo is as important as card advantage and why both concepts always have to be kept in mind at the same time. Take a look at a card like Thunder Dragon, for example. It's a net +1 if you just think about it card advantage wise. That's what we want, right? But it has next to no tempo attached to it whatsoever, other than giving you a light engrave, other than in pure Thunder Dragons, of course. We miss you, buddy. Another example which illustrates both concepts perfectly is playing around Evenly Matched with a trap deck. Evenly Matched, of course, is an insane card, usually going 2 or 3 for 1, but its tempo loss of not being able to go for game the turn you activate it is nothing to scoff at, opening up lots of options for the trap player to not get completely destroyed by the card, for example, by not competing completely for the board and keeping a trap or 2 in hand, because they know their set 3 will be enough to stop the opponent's main engine, and if they get evenly, they still kept up in card advantage by keeping cards in hand, of course, to play into the opponent's board the next turn as they're guaranteed to survive for the turn. And these interactions you will have with evenly can be applied to every interaction in every game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Every single one interaction you will have with your opponent, you will always want to evaluate both cards you and your opponent are committing to the trade, most of the time a 1-for-1 trade, but what's the amount of tempo you are trading? What are you or your opponent's potential plays are going to look like after the trade? What cards are known in their hand? How does their engine extend after this disruption? This is everything you want to think about at every interaction. A very basic example for this concept is deciding if you want to use your infinite impermanence on the opponent's normal summon of Alistar, or do you just keep it for their Mechaba on your turn? Well, let's take a look at it from both the perspective of card advantage and tempo. Just card advantage wise, it makes more sense to use the imperm on the Alistar normal summon, because to continue to combo, the opponent would need another invocation to get into Mechaba, and hitting the Alistar turns off the grind of the engine, of course because they cannot recycle their Alistar with the invocation. But why is it that most high-rated players believe that hitting the Mechaba is the correct play? You will have to take a tempo into consideration. The evoked engine only gets you to 1 negate on the field, so it's not really too heavy of a tempo play. Therefore, it's very beneficial for you to let it resolve just because with the 1 imperm in hand, it won't hinder your plays next turn at all. And even all the follow-up gets dealt with by the most basic form of disruption, as it's so tempo low that it's super easy to disrupt as it's just 1 normal summon. Add to that you play around in Hardron Invocation, where you basically make it so that you trade 1-for-1 card advantage wise, but you deal next to no tempo loss to them, and it just makes sense to keep the imperm in hand, especially if you plan your plays around the follow-up in the form of Alistar in hand. This drastically changes if you have 2 hand traps, but this is just to showcase you guys the complexity of both of these concepts. So now that we know what these concepts mean, how do we apply them the most optimal way in-game? Well, at every point of interaction with your opponent, you want to think about how big of a tempo loss your opponent is going to suffer from your interaction. What is their win condition? What are their plays after your disruption? If the play in question goes through, do they have enough tempo on board to outrun disruption because they play a monster on the field with higher attack than the monster which has the disruption? Do we want that to happen? Do we want them to waste their battle phase? And most importantly, or lastly, I would say, the amount of cards both of you are using. All of these thoughts can be very draining, and especially in a long tournament day with 8 or 10 rounds or so, but if you take all of these things into consideration, at any point of a duel, with enough practice and experience, you will become a better duelist, 100% guaranteed. And because all of this is very draining, it's always a good thing not to think about the simple interactions like hand trapping your opponent just to save some time and mental gymnastic. This is only possible with confidence in your abilities and game knowledge. This is easiest achieved by picking one deck and sticking to it, and while playing it enough, you will start to notice that at a certain point, if you stop evaluating traits, but you just remember them and you know what the correct play will be at the certain point of interaction. Though it can be really dangerous to be on the autopilot all the time, the perfect middle ground between autopilot and evaluating everything is perfect to get you cleanly through a whole tournament day and making the best decisions at the most optimal time. So guys, class is over, just one or two more cents from my side. If you want to see those concepts which we talked about in this video be taken into consideration live, definitely check out my stream. The link will be down in the description below. I'm always thinking out loud while playing the game, just not only to help you guys, but also me, making it so that I'm less on autopilot. Maybe this is something you can do as well, to just think out loud while you're playing on your own. Of course, in a tournament, you shouldn't really do it because you would probably explain your plays to the opponent. And lastly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as I'm going to do a giveaway. It's probably going to be something around 20 to 30 euro-ish, so it's definitely worth to just hit the subscribe button. Once we're at 100, I will be giving away something. Hope you guys having a nice day. Professor Sunrise out. Peace.